Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show with Ron, and I'm Ron, and we're here to look at the headlines that are being passed around, that are being shared, that we're supposed to get riled up about, and see if we can add some context to kind of understand what's really going on. So, first off, here we've got Bloodbath. Now, Drudge has thrown in this word here, bloodbath, because as I'm sure you may have heard, the other day, the media was reporting, trying to tell you and I that Trump was threatening a bloodbath, and clearly the implication was if he was not elected. This fits into the narrative of the media that is saying that Trump is a terrible danger to democracy, which I have no doubt that he is in some aspect, but people quickly came out to show the context of the word bloodbath that Trump was talking about. He wanted to put a 100% tariff on foreign cars, and if not, there would be a bloodbath apparently in the auto industry. And it was all within the context of that. And, to have that sort of word promoted so much by all the media and across social media to try to mean one thing when it really meant another, it's really one of the signs of how the media has not followed their mission to report things in a nonpartisan way, because while it may be true that Trump is a great danger, in that case, it doesn't seem like, if you read the quote, that the bloodbath quote should have been used or reported to mean that he was threatening violence in the way he did. But on to that, I mean, here we have these cases against Trump that are coming to fruition in this election year that are going to bankrupt him. And you look at some of the facts of them. I have no doubt that where there's smoke, there's fire, and a lot of these are true. But what I always look at is what is the upshot and the results of things, and what are the causes of them, as opposed to judging them. And I think that this sort of thing where these cases happen to be filed, so they come to fruition, so they're bankrupting the candidate in the year of his election, and he's the front runner for the party. I think that this could work in his favor, I suppose, especially with his hardcore supporters, paint him as a victim of the deep state, as people always like to say. Now, I know there are a lot of polls out there that have been promoted in the press that say that if any of these cases, if he's ruled against, he'll lose a lot of support. But I don't see how that could be, because he is going to be the nominee for his party, and I question the wisdom of these cases could have been filed, almost 12 years ago now, or even before that. But the fact that they're coming with this kind of timing, I don't think it's good for democracy, which is what we're all trying to protect, because they could play into this narrative that Trump is a victim, which he certainly is not. And on the other hand, you would also say Trump is not really good at capitalizing on situations like this, because he has this one pugnacious attitude. So whether he would be able to capitalize on the perception, true or false, that he's being victimized, that's another issue. Here we have Richard Simmons. I grew up watching his show. He made me the man I am today. Maybe, I don't know. I've even developed the same hair in my old age, but I don't know. I always enjoyed watching his show. He is, and it is funny, his news about him pops up where so many other celebrities, they're here and they're gone. So he's an interesting. There's a class of celebrities, singers who are like the man for all seasons, that every decade they somehow can remain in the news. And here Richard Simmons says he was dying, but he didn't really mean it. He meant something else. It's another widely shared news story here from Semaphore. This points up some of the things that I talk about on this channel a lot. This is how the media used to be a little bit more nonpartisan, and they would have hard-hitting exposés. They had investigations and painstaking investigations of business, of government, of politics on both sides. That just doesn't happen anymore. Say cost of litigation and insurance. Here, I would also say social media has become predominant. It's harder for the media companies to exist in this arena anymore, because social media is all about clickbait. It's about rabble rousing. It's about screaming from the rooftops, and it's about being partisan, and it's about having an opinion one way or another, offering that opinion. And the mainstream media, doesn't seem to be able to operate outside of that, because it's become very partisan and very polarized. That's the very necessity of this channel. We're trying to understand where are the biases, what's really behind the news that's being pushed to us. Here we have another pretty interesting article. Is Biden-Trump rematch. Dread verges on denial for some voters. Very weird situation. A lot of these articles, I don't think they verge around this idea of Biden's age, because we have a kind of weird dissonance here in what the media is telling us, or what maybe we feel from all these stories from the media. The idea is that Trump is an imminent danger to democracy. In the past, you have Republicans and Democrats, and each of them say they're bad for the country, but this is going to be the end of the country. And the most consequential thing, we have a demagogue versus a great guy, supposedly. And if that is true, and may be true, why then, how could it be true if Biden is running against him? Biden is clearly senile in a lot of clips we see of him. When you see him, did a great job at the State of the Union. Has nothing to do with the number of his age, like 81 years old versus Trump 77. It has to do with what we can see from clips, and he's clearly not quite all there a lot of the times. And we have a vice president in Kamala Harris, clearly not up to the job, doesn't present herself as a viable presidential candidate. Even some on the left now just this week have called on her to resign. I think that wouldn't actually really happen, but it shows the unease, because Trump and the Republicans can say it's Trump versus Kamala Harris, not Biden. So it's the idea that we have this matchup and the stakes are being presented in the way they are, but yet we have Biden running against Trump. It's a very strange thing. I think it causes people to question what's really going on. Why are both of these candidates, Trump and Biden, so awful and unsuitable? How can this nation, the party system, give us these two people? And I think that's happened for the last couple of. I sort of liked Hillary Clinton, but she was very off-putting, had a lot of negatives. So when she was running against Trump, I think you could say these are not really the best candidates. And then we had the next election of Trump and Biden when Biden won. And now we've got a rematch. We've had 12 years of very peculiar, unsuitable candidates for president. People are going to look back and say this is some issue with the party system, because the Democrats and Republicans, they run the primaries in the way they want, and the primaries are shuffled around to make sure the person that they think is right or who has the power within the party is going to be the nominee. And I think that has let down the country. That's maybe what's behind that, but that's for somebody out in the future to look back on. Wisconsin vote. I just noticed that. I didn't see this article before. I believe this was in 2016. This was the state that the Democrats and Hillary Clinton, they were very contemptuous about. They knew they were going to win it. They're always going to win it. Ha, ha, ha. The Hillary side had hundreds of millions of dollars in donation. Trump's only just had 20 or 30 million of its own money. Ha, it's not a real candidate. That's what we were told the whole time. But Trump was still able to win because they saw the trends. They won Wisconsin. And here we have another situation where, the media has been trying to downplay the effects of inflation, saying that it's all getting better. And they made a phrase that all the media used called the vibe economy. And you always, when you see a new terminology, a new acronym, something like that appears across all the news media trying to push something, you realize this is a narrative. And they were trying to support Biden because they thought they needed to against Trump. But the issue was, even when inflation has gone down, or there are better stats in certain months, for real people, for most of the people who are shopping at a store, the prices are still high, and they can see that despite how much, like the New York Times is screaming vibe economy or telling people they're mistaken when they think the economy is worse for them. This is a danger for Democrats, and I hope they certainly address inflation for foodstuffs and not try to wave it away. A lot of politics today. I've been wanting to try to promote this channel, but you can't promote it because they say if you mention Biden or Trump, that means it's an election advertisement, and they won't let you promote that, which I don't think I'm advertising one side or another. More stuff about the royals in the UK. I almost, this TikTok supporters blame Jews for congressional ban. I don't know what's happened to this country. I mean, that's going to cause this ban for TikTok to come sooner rather than later. It's obviously showing how much TikTok has fed false narratives into the voting public. We got our Haiti. I'm not sure if I should show pictures. Sometimes dead bodies pop up on these. Well, it wouldn't on CNN. But yeah, this is a rough situation in Haiti. And also, I have got to say here the most cynical thing, the only time that they've had the peace and prosperity was like the 60s, 70s, kind of in the 80s, when they had a very strict dictator. Some countries are like that. I know, a lot of people bring up this thing about 130 years ago that the gold reserves that Haiti supposedly had were taken to the U.S. and disappeared, and thus reparations are owed to this country. But I'll tell you, a lot of countries have put hundreds of billions of dollars into Haiti over the years. The U.S. spent decades, from the 1920s all the way through the 1990s at different periods, occupying, trying to rebuild the country. United Nations has been in there. I'm telling you, no airdrop of hundreds of billions of reparation money would, cause schools to be improved. Unfortunately, Again, it's probably obvious. The State Department, the U.S. State Department, they would know all this, and they would be looking for strong military rule for a while to stabilize that. It's not no return to democracy in a country that is this chaotic is not going to happen. We've seen that. We've learned the hard way in a lot of countries. In Afghanistan, just went right back to the Taliban the second we walked out. Iraq destroyed itself. And it was infested by Iran to harm the U.S. interests there. We have the Obama's invasion of Libya. That is still a nightmare of factions. The whole Arab Spring. A few years ago, we had the Arab Spring, and U.S. news media were saying, "Oh, guess what? Everyone wants democracy, and we're going to have women's rights," and that's completely false. Any of those countries that changed over was just a new faction that wanted to rule with an iron fist. So democracy is not always the obvious go-to when you have a revolution, unfortunately. I think Westerners, liberal democracies, would like to think the same as communists, because the communists thought there would be an inevitable march to communist systems as evolution would occur, and we'd like to think the same thing, that when people are rising up, it's going to be an inevitable march to democracy, but it's not always the case. And then the government has to stand up and say, "Why are you supporting these dictatorships? Why don't you just let them be overthrown and we'll have democracy? Because that's what everybody wants, and will be peace and freedom." That's what Jimmy Carter did in Iran. They gave the tacit approval for the Shah to be overthrown there in the late 70s, and that opened up the biggest can of worms ever, bigger than what happened later in Iraq or Libya. So it's tricky. It's tricky. They got to go to the voters and say, "Why are we supporting Saudi Arabia? Why are we supporting these countries?" It's tough. More about Musk. A lot of negative things about Musk in the media and in Drudge. All these one-name people. And I had said a few days ago, there was a link somewhere about the mystery of Drudge. The guy, is he even behind this site anymore? And in some of my early videos, I explained about the history of Drudge and why I'm following this site, because essentially it's influential, and it alerts a lot of news media organizations to hot button stories that people will want to watch or look at. There's a YouTube video with Megyn Kelly where somebody has a podcast about searching for or finding Drudge. And for Drudge, he doesn't want to be a media figure. He doesn't want to be photographed or interviewed. And that's quite surprising or even alarming to the rest of the media world, where everybody wants to be famous. And so they're one of the things is, was he still in charge of this site? Because the site, and it's very influential in the headlines it shows you. And in 2016, when Trump was running against Hillary Clinton, it seemed to maybe soft pedal some of the negative aspects of Trump. And obviously this year, the site certainly has not. And they didn't in 2020 either. So people have wondered how connected Drudge is to running this site. But apparently he is, according to these guys. And that was all from a YouTube video on Megyn Kelly interview, these podcaster guys. And finally, I do feel that when we look at the context of the news, it can be an uplifting thing because it can detach us from people who are trying to force us to march in their parades or go down in their fight. Let's just look at it. However, overall, the world does seem to be decaying. And so this is a good story to end on. And to me as an American, I don't know people from other countries. I mean, the nation I grew up in, they didn't have things like this on such a widespread scale in big cities. Ohio was the heartland, Cleveland, Detroit. I know Detroit has come back some, but when these stories, maybe about 20 years ago, these pictures started coming out, the ruins of America, we allowed all of our businesses, factories to go overseas to enrich an autocratic state, China, and all those good jobs disappeared. And then you have these incredible photos, well, not too many here, but incredible photos of houses that were left to rot. We had the situation in 2008 with the crash of the mortgage crash that threw a lot of lower income and black folks out of their homes who had signed up for weird predatory mortgages, and was really the death of a dream. And it's just very weird to see these videos. Lots of good videos on YouTube of guys driving around Detroit maybe a few years ago with the camera out the window and just seeing block after block of ghost towns, this American ghost towns. So for now, we're okay. Let's pay attention to the news. Let's not get too wrapped up in it. Let's not go down fighting in somebody else's battle unless we're really sure this is good for us and good for the future that we want to have for ourselves. The media is way too polarized to allow ourselves to be get real excited off the bat for anything that happens. But here's something you can get excited about. Young people find their dreams and failures in Bangkok and then go on to the furthest places in search of something the modern world can no longer give. This is the story of There Are Still Unknown Places, my new novel on sale at Asia Books and on Kindle ebook. It's a tale for a new generation, disillusioned by the promises of the world, wanting to search for their destinies in far-off places. So that's my book. I'm a writer, and some of the themes I look at are connected to some of the stuff I talk about here. There's young people who are disillusioned about the way the world is, the promise of their society, as I mentioned, and going out to find themselves outside the strictures of media and what's being told to them. And we know this younger generation is super doctrinaire. They're all about rules, doing things the right way. It's what cancel culture is all about, keeping in line. I think it's time for people to find their own ways again. So anyway, that's all we have for today. We're going to have lots of great news for today. I hope you would like or subscribe to this channel. It's a great year to get it going. There's so much weird, biased, strange stuff in the media we can talk about every day, so we're clear on what's going on. So until tomorrow, I will see you. Bye-bye.